Good day, fellas. So the basis of this tutorial is going about teaching you how to create a string in Java while also teaching you how to go about creating your first Java application. Um, so there's this thing that people use when they create an application in a new language that they're learning, which is just printing out a simple hello world text on the console, which is right here. That's just gonna write like hello world just to test if things are working. So to do something of that source, let's just start by creating your Java application. We'll call it first app. First app, first Java app, whatever you want to call it. We'll then say next. Then here I would say don't create that module. Okay. Um, then we'll open that. After that, we'll come to this package called source. Right click there. Then you would have on new, create a class. Because for a Java application, you need a starting point where your Java application is gonna start running from. So we'll call this our main, because everything starts off in our main program. Or should I rather say, or class. Then you'd come here and tick this box called public static void main, right? And then afterwards you click on finish. And then Java will go about creating this class for you, and then also create a method that publish static void, passing in the string, which you'll learn about. And then this box is arrays, but we won't be dealing with that for now. We'll do that on a later stage, and these are arguments. So as I said when I began, is that one would want to first print out a text called hello world. So how you'd go about doing this is by saying system dot output, because you want to output whatever text that you want to show to the user, and then you say dot, then you'd want to print it out, right? So print line, you could use print, but I would choose print line because that will print it on the next available line, new line should I rather say. And then you put these inverted commas, or what do you call that? Yeah, I think it's inverted commas. Forgive me if I made a mistake. And then here you'd write a text called hello world. You can write it in small caps, or you can write it in capital letters. That's just your preference. And reminder, you don't need to just you don't need to write hello world. You could write like literally anything. It's just that we choose hello world. Then yeah, we've got an application that can display hello world, and then you need to save either with that or save all or control S. Either of those will work, and then you'll see that this asterisk is just gone, or starish symbol. Yeah, I think it's not an asterisk. Yeah, whatever it is. And then we'll come here and click on run this main, and then wow, our application now displays to us a text called hello world. So we know that things are working okay, but we haven't necessarily went about doing what I said the goal of this tutorial is creating a variable that stores a string, right? But it is a starting point. Our program definitely works. And then so Before I go about doing the code, I would like to come demonstrate to you on what I mean by when you're creating a variable. So I'll go to Paint. Okay, so first of and foremost, we'll need to know what are we doing, right? So we're creating a variable, but I'd like you to first visualize or think of a variable in this sense. Think of a variable in as a box that stores something. But now with this box, it's a special box that has an instruction that says that you literally just have to store this type, which is type string that we're gonna create, right? So, okay, I'll just, yeah. So I said, think of it as a box, right? We'll just create another box and another box, right? And then, yeah, after that, you would say, okay, let me specify here that we're trying to create a string. A string. So a string is basically a text. A text. Like hello world is a text. My name is so on, so on. That's a text. Yeah, it's just a text. So think of it as a box, but this box has a specific instruction that it's gonna store a string. So every variable needs to have like a type. So this type is type string. We'll create another variable of type string and a third variable of type string. A variable also needs to have, as it has a type, we will need a variable name to store that string. Let's just store a person's details. So this variable will store the name of the person. This variable will store the surname of the person. That's the name of the variable. And then this one will store the age. One would argue that age is a number, but in this instance, we'll just make it a variable, a string. So in these containers, one will then have the ability to store whatever value they'd want to store in this container or variable, should I rather say, of type string. So under name, I go by the name of Sibonelo. Right, my surname here is Vilagazi. And then my age is I'd like to think that I'm 2 years old. Yeah. So yeah. So this is how it's gonna work. But for someone who is just starting off on programming, it might or starting off with Java, it might strike confusion that okay, how do you then implement this on Java? So first and foremost, we wanted to grasp this concept that teaching you how to do a string and a variable that stores a string. And think of a variable as a container which has a specific type, which is type string. And then the name of the variable would be name. And then what's stored in that variable would be my name, which is Bonello. There's another variable called surname. It's a type string. And what's stored in there is my surname. Third variable, type, which is string, age is the name of the variable, and then I'm 2 years old. So with all that being said, let's go back and kick in our Java application and go about uh, implementing that. So we would like to remove this, or we could comment it out by that, right? So we said that in order for you to create a variable, you will need a type, which is type string, and then the name of the variable, which is name, right? And a string, as it starts off, it's either you would want to do that first, then you'd want to assign the name of the person. You could do that as name equals to, and then that inverted commas, and store my name, which is Sibonelo. You can do that, and then you always have to enclose that by that. We've created a variable which stores my name, which is Sibonelo. But, well, we could also do that in one line and store this name as my name, right? And then the second variable is, we said it's surname, right? Which will then store my surname, which is Vilakazi, and then close that. And then another variable which is type string, and then we'll store the age, and then we'd say I'm 2 years old. But note that you can't just say 2, because if you say 2 and then close it like that, that will give you a squiggly line and it would result in an error. Say, let's say we want to run that program. Proceed. You'll see that it's telling us that unresolved compilation problem, type mismatch, cannot convert from type int to string, right? And then that's happening in line 9. That's where we can see the errors. That's another way of seeing errors, is by this red cross, and here you can see that this program has an error. So we'll go about cleaning the console and then fixing that, which is now to 2. Right. So we've created a person, which is me. What's my name? Sibonelo. What's my surname? Vilakazi, and my age. Let's go about saving that and go about running it. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, we see that our program compiles, but in actual fact, the user's not seeing anything, but there's no problem with this program. So it means that everything is working. So compiled means that your application is working or built with no errors, which means that it can run. But now the thing is, we can't see any output because now we're not printing out anything to the user, because they've got these variables, it's stored in these containers, but the user's not seeing anything. So we need to then make use of that output, which is system.output.println, and then we'll store something in there. So we'll use something of that sort, right? So we can then go about saying our system.out.println, right? And then we'd want to close that. We could have done this. My name is Sibonelo. We could have printed it like that. Sibonelo, Vilakazi, and then 2 years old, right? But in that way, we would have not used our variables. We would have just used just printing that string, just creating that string on the print line, right? But we don't want that. We want to make use of our variables. So how we would print out our name, would say name, right? That would print out our name. Because another thing you should know is that the system.println, it takes a text. So since this is a string and this accepts this text, actually it accepts output, because I think you could also put in a number. It's just to print out something. So it accepts a variable or whatever that you want to display out to the user. So you would say systemout.println. Let's go about saving that. Okay, there's no issues. Let's run it. Now we can see that it's printing out my name. But you could argue that just having my name ha- serves no purpose, or there's no information that the user is getting from this application. So we'd first want to say print out maybe a message that say my name is, and then dot dot, and then Sibonelo, right? So how we go about doing that is by using something called string concatenating. So basically that means joining two strings together, right? So for instance, if I wanted to join this guy and name and surname, I would use name plus, so I would use name plus surname, right, on the display, right? But now, let's go about trying to use that, right? Say here we have a message that's gonna print out that your name is then dot dot, and then you need a plus sign for that concatenation, and then you'd write the name, the variable name, right? And then you would save that and try running that. Yeah, we could see that we're getting somewhere. Now you can see a message written, your name is Sibonelo. Sibonelo, right? Okay, so now we just wanted to start off by just printing out to the user that Sibonelo Vilagazi and then the age, right? So if we were to then concatenate all those variables, we'd use something like that name, right, plus surname plus age. One would think that, right? Say we wanted to print out a string that's like this. No, do a comment, Sibonelo Vilakazi, and then 2. That's a string we want to print out. Let's try testing that and see what would happen if we do it in this way. Well, the user sees something, but it's not displayed correctly, right? And reason why our text is joined like that is because we just concatenating it, so we're joining two strings, but we're not allocating any space between the name, the surname, and the age, right? So in order for one to have to create space between the two variables, you would want to concatenate after the name with a string, right? Have a space in there, and then I want you to just see the difference. Now you can see that between the name and the surname, there is this space that we've created. So we'd also want that in the age, right? So clear that console. We'd want to also add it there, and then add that space, and then do a save, and then run our application. Now we can see that it's Sibonelo Vilakazi 2, right? But you would still say that, okay, the user isn't getting much information about that, right? So let's comment this code out, and then we'd want to print out a string that says your name is, then it says the name, and your surname is, and then it would say out the surname, and then your age is, and then it would say out the age. So now we'd want to have something like this. Your name is Sibonelo. And then your surname is, and then Vilakazi, and then your age is, and then 2, right? So if we wanted to print something like that, we'd use sys out. You can have that shortcut. You can say sys out and then control space. that will auto complete that for you, right? And then you can say this, and then you can write your name is, and then you can concatenate that with your name plus, and then you can say right, and then your surname, then you'd say your surname is, then you want to concatenate that with surname, and then you'd plus that and say your age is, and then we'd want to have concatenate that with age, right? We'll go about saving that, and now let's run that and see what happens. Now we see that the system is now printing out this text message that says your name is Sibonelo, your surname is Vilagazi, and your age is 2, right? But then if ever wanted to display each of these text in a new line, then this isn't a way to go about displaying it in this way, right? Because now it's all in one line, and the user would want to display it in 2 lines, maybe in different line, like your name is that, and then in the next line your surname is that, and then in the next line your age is that. So okay, other people would go about doing it in doing that character return, that n new line, and then they would also do a new line here, right? That and that. That's just for a new line in Java. Yeah, you could still do that, but that would still display it in different line. But I like to simplify things. So in this way, I will then that is a way you could use by using that new line, but I like keeping things simple, right? For people out here, people out there who are starting off with programming or using Java, right? So I'll just remove that, or just remove that whole thing. Just remove that whole thing, right? And then I would say system, set sys out, and then control space, and then here you can say your name is, and then concatenate that with name, but you will need a space here, right? So that it spaces out, like it leaves a space after these colons, right? And then I'll have another one, system out, that would say your surname is, let me show you, I would like to show you a difference without doing the space, and then sys out, and then your age is, and then plus, that's age, right? And then space. So now with that done, we'll go about saving, Control S, right, and running the program. So you see the difference right here is that here it's spaced out because of that, and then here there's no space because here we didn't add any space, and then here at your age there is a space because we had a space after the colon. So we will also want to do that space, but that just goes with preference, whatever you would like to do, right? So we'll then save it, and then go about running it again. Now all of them have spaces after the colon. So now you could have that as your name is so on and so on. And then another method to display it in one line, you could also create another string that says person info. Person info, that's in one line. um so we'd say that's equal to the name, right? If we want to say that's equal to the name plus plus the surname, that space plus the age, right? We can have that in its own string. So this string will now save a string of that name, surname, and age, but now there will be spaces in between. So rather than printing it out all here, right, you could have that there, right? So I just copied that line and pasted that line there. So instead of all that, now I could just have person info, and then yeah, that's it. And then you'll see that at the bottom of all those text, you'll have your name is that, surname is that, your age is that, and then you'll have that, right? If ever you'd want to say maybe another string, create another string and say name info, and then you'd want to say your name is, and then you'd want to say name, right? And then you'd sys out, right? And then you say name info, and then that would say your name is Sibonelo. So here it says your name is Sibonelo, so you don't need to type it all in the print line. So now we would come here to this string and say, okay, what does that string have in there? So going back to our concept, so you'd see that we've created a string, right? If I may just send that to the side a bit, and then also that to the side. Try extending that and try extending that. I don't know if that would be clear enough or visible. Yeah, I just need this small section so that you could see. So here we have this container which stores the string, and then we've got the name of the string, which is name. And then we've got what we're storing in the string, which is the name, called Sibonelo. Same here with the second one. We've got the type of this variable, which is string, and then we've got the name of the variable, which is surname, and then we've got the actual value that's getting stored into the surname, which is now called Vilakazi. And then same goes with the age. And then here, in order for us to display this text, we're printing out to the console using the system out.println, and then your name is that, and then you'd say um the actual name that you want, right? So now it would then print out your name is Sibonelo, because what the program will check is that, okay, what does Sibonelo have? And then it sees that the name is that. So we could also go about changing this name and saying it's Jack, right? and then Lucas. I don't know if I spelled that right, but you know the saying, programmers can't spell. I'm sorry if that's offending other people out there, but that's just me. Okay. So if we were to see that, we'd say that this container, the name of that variable name now stores Jack, and now the surname which stores Lucas, right? And then now that age is storing 2. We could also change that to 20 if we want to save. Now I'll go about extending this and running the program again so you can see what's going on. So now you see it says your name is Jack, your surname is Lucas, your age is 20, and then here now we did say Jack Lucas 20 because of this. It goes here Jack, surname Lucas, age 20. And if you like, you could always change here and say now age is updated probably to 40, using that, right? 40. Now here it will normal print out 20. It will now print out 40 here, but here it will print out 20 because at this instance when it checks, the age was what, 20, but now when it gets here the age was updated to 40. Now that's supposed to display 40. Let's just have a system out, right? And then that, and then ashes, just to separate our displays. So now you'd see that your name is Jack, your surname is Lucas, your age is 20 because it was still 20, yeah. And then as we updated it, and then now you'd see so it says Jack Lucas and then 40, but your name is Jack because Jack was not updated, yeah. So yeah, that's how you just go about creating a variable of type string and then assigning it a value which is type string and displaying it back to the console. Yeah, so with all that being said, that's it for this tutorial, and I hope you learned much from it. Please hit the like and subscribe button to help this community grow. I promise that there's more and more content loading and coming up to your place, and you'll learn a lot. Thank you very much.